reduces the time required to search through big volumes of documents, access to information requests, responses, transcription, if you have lots of audio files you want to transcript and then search through. Reduces the hours spent to do that kind of research and produce stories. This is where you can find Pinpoint, that goo.gle/pinpoint. That will take you to a Google form where you can sign up for an account. For the time being, Pinpoint is still marketed specifically for journalists. And so in this simple sign up form, they'll ask you to identify as a journalist or a researcher. You need a Google account to get a Pinpoint account. If and when you sign up for a Pinpoint account, use your Gmail address as opposed to your organizational address. Data uploaded to Pinpoint is not used to train Google's AI models. The same privacy and security measures apply to it as do your Google Drive or your Gmail. Pinpoint's not unlike a Google Drive in that you can create folders within it, which are called collections, and then upload files to that collection, either from your hard drive or from your Google Drive. Those files can be PDFs, emails, images, audio files, video files, badly photocopied faxes filled in with handwriting, and Pinpoint will read those using transcription and optical character recognition and tell you what's in them. You get 100 gigabytes of storage with your Pinpoint account. Each collection or folder within your Pinpoint account can contain up to around 200,000 files, depending on the file type. So more if you're using text files, fewer if you're uploading audio video files. So as you're uploading files, Pinpoint automatically creates an index of the most commonly mentioned people, locations, and organizations mentioned. This is known as the entity list. You can also, across all of your files, search for keywords or exact phrases or synonyms. You can do basic Boolean search operators within your Pinpoint collection. Transcription, so when you upload an audio or video file, Pinpoint automatically makes a time-stamped transcription. And this is what it reads when it's searching. Pinpoint read and transcribe dozens of different languages, even audio and video files that are multilingual. It can accurately switch between 2 or more languages. Time spent to transcribe, it will transcribe a 2-hour video or audio file in around 5 minutes or less. Pinpoint is also has an entity extraction function. So this is a no-code solution to extract data from a collection of similarly structured documents, like property records, police records, any kind of file or set of files that has a similar structure. Pinpoint makes it really easy to select the values that you want to extract from one sample and apply those extractions to the entire collection of files and download those values into a CSV file. A newer addition to Pinpoint is this built-in Gemini capability. So this is a chat assistant within Pinpoint that allows you to ask questions of your documents. I'm going to jump into a live demo, but before I do, I'll just take a look and see if there's any questions so far. Don't think so. Okay, so let's take a look at Pinpoint. So this is my workspace. If you're just getting started in Pinpoint, this will be empty. You can see up here above, we have this Explore section too. This is where individuals or publications or organizations have made public a Pinpoint collection. So you can access these public collections without needing a Pinpoint account. And you can make any collection public. So if you create a Pinpoint collection, you publish a story based on that, you want your readers to be able to see these source documents, you can make public a Pinpoint collection as well. If you're just getting started, you'll start a new private collection, give the name, and then here you can start uploading files. Either you can upload a web link directly, URL, you can upload files from your hard drive, or you can upload files from your Google Drive. The 100 gigabytes of storage in your Pinpoint account doesn't count against your Google Drive. You can see at the bottom here, that'll take you to a full list of the types of files that are accepted. But I'm going to show you a collection, a sample collection that we use here. So this is a collection of files related to the Apollo space missions and NASA. So I've got 99 files total here. They're listed by their file name. Pinpoint converts everything to a PDF. So you can see here, this is a JPEG, but Pinpoint has converted it to a PDF. The same goes for MP3s or MP4s or any other file type. We've got here up top the entity, the Gemini Assistant. So this is where I got some pre-programmed functions here. I'm not going to demo all of these because they can take some time to process. But I can ask it to create a timeline. I can ask it to compare documents. I can ask it to label documents automatically. And then I can also ask for questions of my documents. So I'm going to ask a question here. Show me references to mental health. As you can see, this is taking a minute to generate here. And you can see here, it's searched my entire collection. And it's pulled out, let's see if I can scroll this over. It's pulled out here from astronaut John Yardley, mentioned that he had to go to a mental institution because he was manic depressive. This is a citation. So I can see here, it's not only given me sort of an answer, but it always gives me citations. And here it's showing me the exact file that this came from, and it's highlighted the exact paragraph where it's pulled that information referencing mental health. So that's the Gemini function, the chat function within Pinpoint. And then we have this entity list. So I can search for dates mentioned in my collection of documents. I can also search for people, organizations, and locations. This entity list is generated automatically. So if I click on one of the entities identified here, it takes me to a list of the 10 documents where this name is mentioned. And when I click on one of those documents, it will show me at the top how many times it's mentioned, and I can click through and see where exactly it's mentioned. And then I can also search by keyword or phrase. So if I search for the word moon, you can see it returns results within my collection for moon as well as synonyms. So it's picking up here moon as well as lunar, moon, moon, lunar. So this is an automatic feature as well. If I wanted to search for just this exact word, I could put it in quotes like this. And you can see now all of my results are just for the word moon. Or I could also do a search like this. I can use a minus sign to exclude the word I want to leave out. And you can see here now lunar has been removed from the results. I could also search for exact phrases if I wanted to search an exact phrase. I'm going to jump to this file here. This is identified as an audio file. This is what you get when you upload an audio file. This is the time-stamped transcription. And I've got the option to play the audio here at the bottom and read along, or click on any timestamp to jump to that point in the audio. So if I go here, we can listen along.
Both Eagle and Columbia represent the best of American technology and the finest craftsmanship by people all over the country who work in the space program.
The transcription function is really good in Pinpoint. And I'm going to show you another collection that sort of demonstrates the capabilities based on different languages or accented English. But first, I want to show you one more thing in this collection, and that's the OCR. So I'm searching for the word Florida here in my search bar. And you can see here one of the documents that it's picked up, one of the files that it's picked up is a photograph of a note from a journalist requesting budget to travel to Florida to conduct research on the space mission. I'll show you another example of handwriting, but I'm constantly pleasantly surprised by how accurately it can pick up handwritten text. It can also pick up text within images, within photos, writing on a t-shirt, for example, or writing on a signpost or an election poster. Let's look at another collection. Here's some more audio examples that I have. Sorry, that's not the one I'm looking for. Multilingual transcription. So this is switching back and forth between French and English.
Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde, and welcome to Circle Time. Bienvenue à Circle Time. My name is Stella. Je m'appelle Stella, and welcome.
So pretty seamlessly switching back and forth there between French and English. I can also, you'll see this section is highlighted. Let's say I want to highlight a section and get the link. Maybe I'm a producer. My reporter has sent me audio of an interview. I can put it into Pinpoint. I can highlight the section that I might want in the report, highlight and get link. Provided the other user has access to this Pinpoint collection, they can take that link, open it up, and see exactly which portion of the transcript I'm interested in. Up here is where I can also download the original file or this transcript. I'll show you another quick example of audio in accented English.
There's a certain American accent that I really like.
I have been called upon to represent Arkansas in the Southern Accent Olympic Trials. I present to you The Wonky Donkey by Craig Smith. I was walking down the road and I saw a donkey. Hee-haw. And he only had 3 legs. He was a wonky donkey.
So in this case, I noticed it doesn't what, winky wanky, it says instead of winky wonky, or he hollered instead of he haw. But I thought this is a pretty good example of the level of accuracy when we're talking about accented English, or English that's not perfectly, not maybe typically pronounced. Here's an example of another example of the OCR capabilities. So this is a collection of historic death certificates. And when I search for the word accidental, you can see it's picked up. Okay, there's the word accident highlighted here in typed text. Here it's found the word accidental in quite cursive handwritten script. So if you're working with any kind of historic documents, Pinpoint might be a useful tool for you to try out on those. Finally, I'll show you the data extraction capabilities. And just as you see at a glance, so one of my collections I made, this is transcripts from not our state, but our provincial legislature in Ontario. So this is a ongoing searchable archive that I have of everything that's been said in the well, this is last year's legislature, but again, I see names, companies, organizations that are mentioned. I could search here for an exact phrase like conflict of interest, for example, to see how many times conflict of interest has come up. If I have a ongoing collection like this, if you're a municipal or state reporter, you can use this to easily search the archive, see what's appearing there. So here's an example of a collection with structured data. So each of the files in this collection is a country report that follows the exact same structure. When I click on structured data, I'll just gonna pop into a new tab here. So when I clicked on structured data, I came into this new tab and it's given me a sample file. So this is the file from which this is the file I will use to tell Pinpoint which values I want to extract. So let's say I want to extract the total area, the population, and population growth. I can click on key value up here, and I'm just dragging and dropping to highlight the value fields that I'm interested in, one at a time. Pinpoint has correctly identified with the little orange box that you see there, the key or the title for that value. If it gets that wrong, I can always move this box around. Or I can edit it here on the side panel. And then what's happening below is I've got this preview field, and it's showing me that it's extracted those same 3 values from all of my files in this collection. If I'm happy with that preview, I can click extract, and it will give me a downloadable CSV form that I can look at in Sheets or in Excel, along with a hyperlink to where it took that value within my Pinpoint collected files. Repeated sections, this is if you have part of a structured format like this. So I've got multiple values for multiple entities. In this case, I'll highlight the first section. Then it asks me to identify the second section in orange there. I'm going to call this heads of state. And then it'll ask me to, okay, within these repeated sections, what values you want to extract. I'm going to say the name and the party of each leader. And down below in my, this is what we did first, extracted fields with the total land, population growth. Beside that is heads of state. And you can see it's grabbed those values, the name and the party for each head of state in each of those repeated sections for each of my files in this collection. And then finally, we have this tables extraction tool, and that's simply for a table within a PDF. So here, I'll just grab the top of this table. Largest cities. And you can see here below, again, it's grabbed the same table from every file in my collection. So that's Pinpoint in a nutshell. Again, those key features, we're talking about entity list. So seeing at a glance automatically proper names that appear within your collection of files. The transcription tool, upload a video or audio file to get a time-stamped transcription. The OCR, optical character recognition, being able to read images, text in images or handwritten text or typed text, and then the data extraction feature. If you want to share it's a collection, it's the same as sharing with a same as sharing a Google Drive. And then up here is language settings. So if you're uploading a collection in a different language, you can change your language settings here. Or if you want to interact with the Gemini feature, you can change the language settings here. The audio files, you can leave this on auto detect. It can detect automatically whatever language the audio or video is appearing in. And then, oops. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to show you for Pinpoint. I encourage you to check out the public collections on your own. You can get a sense of other organizations that are using Pinpoint for public collections. Any questions about that? I see one question. How does it do with badly scanned, preserved microfilm images? I haven't tried on microfilm. I haven't tested on microfilm specifically, yeah, so I can't speak to that. You'd have to try it out. Any other questions or comments on Pinpoint? Okay. Let me just, I'm just going to give you the link to the public collections for Pinpoint. Oh, we have someone coming in. So I'll drop this link in the chat. This is where you can check out the Explore section of Pinpoint. Those are the public collections. There's been Pinpoint has been used more recently on the Epstein files. We've seen users upload some of those releases to Pinpoint. The Associated Press is using Pinpoint to publish documents they're reporting. Yeah, you'll see lots of big news organizations and smaller users and researchers as well. Okay, let's move on to Notebook. So Notebook is an AI assistant, an AI research assistant that helps you understand again, similar to Pinpoint, documents, files that you upload to it. It's available as a web app and also as a mobile app on Android and iOS. You can find Notebook at that link there on your screen, or just notebooklm.google.com. So unlike Gemini, even though Notebook runs on Gemini, Notebook only bases its responses on the sources that you upload. Like Pinpoint, every response includes inline citations showing exactly where in your source material its response from. It's also multilingual, so you can upload content in one language, PDF in French, and ask questions about it in English or vice versa. Also multimodal, so you input different modes, different types of content, text, audio, images. It's also like Pinpoint, the data, the files that you use that you upload to Notebook LM is not used to train the model. So when you first open up a notebook, you'll be asked to upload files to your notebook. It supports Google Docs, slides, sheets, Microsoft Word documents, images, PDFs, websites, and public YouTube videos, as well as MP3 files. You've got a smaller storage bank in Notebook. So with the free version, each notebook can contain up to 50 sources, and each source can be up to 200 megabytes. If you upgrade, you've got more space. You can also, there's also this feature where you can do a web search or a Gemini deep research search within Notebook. So instead of adding your own sources from scratch, say, you can do a search within Notebook and then upload the sources from there.
Are you serious?
Deep research, this is a function in Gemini that's been added to Notebook LM. As I just mentioned, it works like a Google search within Book. When it started that way instead of uploading from your hard drive, for example. Once you've uploaded your files, Notebook will give you a high-level summary of each of your sources, as well as your overall notebook. And of course, you can collaborate with the AI assistant. So again, Notebook will not only provide you answers, but provide inline citations to show you the source of each piece of information in its response. You can select and deselect your sources within a notebook to ask questions about one document or some documents while excluding others, or ask questions of your entire notebook. And then you can also create content types. So these are pre-programmed pieces of content that Notebook will generate based on the sources you've got in a notebook. An audio overview, which is a realistic sounding podcast, a timeline, a set of slides, an infograph, FAQs, quizzes, and a couple of other options. We'll look at those. Let's jump into a demo. For those of you who are using Notebook, does anyone want to comment on what maybe you're using it for? I see your question there, Carol. Let me get to that in a minute.
I can start. I've used it to analyze research interviews that were done on Zoom, and we were searching for themes in the interviews for, I mean, ultimately a book, but we had a list of 7 themes that we wanted to pull out of the interviews, and it was incredibly helpful because the old way, basically the researchers would just have to, we had audio transcripts for everything, but audio transcripts of meetings are clunky. and they don't,
Yeah.
they're not searchable or anything. So we were able to download those transcripts and go through a whole bunch of research interviews very quickly, and then take it down to the quote level, and then hone in on the people that the lead researcher would really want to spend time with on those interviews, or re-watching those interviews based on that initial scanning that had been done. And what's interesting is I did some of the interviews myself, and it was actually an AI project. And that's actually where I found out about Notebook LM, because some of the people that we interviewed were students, and the students were using it to, especially a couple of them mentioned being able to do the audio study guides from a bunch of written material, and it helped them not supplant reading it, but it helped them get focused on that collection of things, and then go back in to dig in to actually like write their papers or find the right quotes to go along with what they were trying to say.
That's a great example. Thanks, Tara. And yeah, I'll play you a clip of that audio overview. But let's take a look. If we're getting started, we see sorry, this is in French. Let me.
So your dad actually bought your car? Bro, why don't you like look for your own stuff?
I think this is because my browser is currently my Chrome is currently in French. I work in both languages. I'm afraid to try and reset that in case I restart my computer. So I'll translate as I go, but I'll be interacting with it, as you can see here. Language of results up here in the parameters or the settings. It will interact with me in English, even if my sources are in French. So these are highlighted notebooks. I'm going to skip those. Those are just notebooks that Google has sort of made public or highlighted from different organizations. These are my notebooks. So for example, if we're just getting started, I'm going to go create new.
You said male baristas are masculine enough.
And I'm imagining, so here we have, this is where we add sources. So this top box is where I can enter search terms or enter a question, and Notebook will sort of perform this search or perform a Gemini deep research right within Notebook, and then give me sources that I can upload. Or if I have my own sources, my own files, research, etc., I can upload these down below. Either upload from my hard drive, from my Google Drive, a YouTube video or a URL, and then copy pasted text, for instance. So if I'm just getting started right away, let's say I have to run an Olympic story. I want to say, show me Olympic athletes or research Olympic athletes from or with connections to Vermont. We have a deep research option here. That can take a few minutes, and it provides essentially more sources. It does a more thorough search, but I'm going to just do a quick research for now. And you can see this is starting to populate. All of my notebooks, when I'm inside a notebook, follow this framework, with my sources on the left side, my chat in the middle, and the studio. This is where we find pre-programmed content pieces like the audio overview, the infograph on the right side. So here it's giving me a list of sources. I'm going to import those. You'll note that if you have a problem, I'm curious to see, because I see some local sources here. If a publisher has blocked AI crawlers, Notebook will not be able to read that source. So it will show up, you'll see an error message here on your source list. That happens from time to time from publications that don't want to get picked up by AI. Sometimes it will grab the headline, it will detect the headline or metadata, but it won't be able to read the source. So here, it's given me an overview of athletes, and then I could ask it a question like, show me a list of athletes, a list of Olympic athletes from or with connections to Vermont. Provide the list in point form, give the name of the athlete and a brief description of their connection, and the year and sport they competed in. So it's going through my sources here. And again, I would say that this is sort of a quick and dirty way of building a notebook, if I can put it that way. If you have done the research and you have your own sources, your own interview notes, you're going to have a lot better sense of what's in there. No matter what, though, these responses can contain inaccuracies, so it's always important to verify with the source document the information that you're getting. So this is just taking a minute to think here. It's grabbing all of this information from the source list. I've given it here, and I think this is important to note as well. I like to give it directions on how I want it to provide this information, so how to format it. And you can see here a list of athletes. It's given me the year and the sport. And when I click on any one of these, it will take me to the source, the Vermont Hall of Fame from Wikipedia, and where exactly in that source it got that information.
That's all right.
So that's just an example to show you sort of how quickly you can build a body of research. If you've got a time-sensitive story, you need a bit of background information on a breaking story or on a feature story. That's one way you can do it. I'll show you another example notebook I found. This is a notebook I built on bike lanes. So I've got academic studies, I've got news articles, I've got YouTube videos, I've got public interest group reports, I've got a variety of sources all on bike infrastructure in cities. And here I'm asking, so this is an old search that I did, that's why it's still in French, but I'm saying, give me a list of direct quotes amongst all these sources from people identified as business owners. So in this example, I'm thinking, and this could be a notebook based on your previous coverage of an area. But I'm thinking in terms of, okay, I want to find real people who are affected by this issue and what are they saying about it. So here in Boston, I've got the owner of Big Daddy's Pizza on the subject of bike lanes and parking. They're killing my business. I've had customers say they're going to stop coming in because they can't park. Here we go, another in Boston, the owner of another business saying they took so many parking spaces and made it impossible for commercial vehicles to park. And again, each of these comes with a citation. So this is from an article called "This Isn't About Bike Lanes," and the quote is right there. I also have here, and we can look at these are some of the pre-programmed items in the studio feature. Let me zoom in a bit here. So we're seeing, we're just looking at one panel at a time here instead of all three at a time. I've zoomed in, but I'll play you a section of the audio overview that I created with this collection, with this notebook.
Let's say the shouting matches on the street corner, and we're grounding this in data.
Right. We're looking at academic studies, city planning info, trying to measure the real worth. We'll focus on like three main things.
2%.
Yeah. And if you look at the rate per kilometer traveled in 2018, the U.S. pedestrian fatality rate was something like 5 to 10 times higher than in those 4 European countries.
5 to 10 times. That strongly suggests that the typical North American approach, maybe just painting lines, isn't really working for safety.
So you get a sense there of how that audio overview sounds. In the studio, if I were to recreate this, I can click on the edit button there to create like a sort of a shorter synthesis, a longer or medium, longer or medium or short synthesis. I could ask it to focus on certain, this is asking it, do you want the host to focus on certain ideas or concepts in this episode? So you've got some customizable bits there for your pre-programmed content pieces.
And let me just mention at this juncture, and Colleen, you might be able to expand on it, there are publications that are using this and are actually presenting them as podcasts, either topically in a specific story group, on a specific topic, or just using it as sort of a daily news podcast and ingesting in the information and putting it out as an audio file.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a Latin American fact-checking organization called Chequeado, which has incorporated these overviews, audio overviews, into their newsletter and found a high click rate on those there. I'll show you another example of an infograph. So this is one that a colleague shared with me. This is a quick collection she made after a raccoon passed out in a liquor store in Virginia, I believe. So she created a notebook with context, articles, background research on this kinds of incident happening and what happens when animals get intoxicated, and created this little, this is in Spanish.
Hoy tenemos una historia que, de verdad, parece sacada de una comedia. Tenemos a un mapache, un
So you can see there the audio overview in Spanish as well. And this is an infograph that she created based on the sources in this notebook. I'll show you one other example. I kind of like this if you're working with a big set of materials with a lot of different concepts and trying to get a whole sense of what's in there. This is a collection I made of federal budgets in Canada going back 20 years, so 2003 to 2024. And we have this mind map feature, which I think is a nice way, and again, this is one of sort of the pre-programmed pieces in the mind map, which is a nice way of seeing at a glance, kind of breaking down the different topics that are in a collection. Also, if you're working with a collection of sources that you're not an expert in, this mind map can be a good way to understand the terminology within and ask more detailed questions. So with this mind map, now I have a sense of asking, okay, how has, zero emission technology incentives changed? Or give me details on the air traveler's security charge. A nice way of seeing, again, like at a glance, what are the topics covered in this big collection of sources. Okay, we are running through the hour quickly, so I'm going to pause there again before moving on to Gemini and see if anyone has any questions. I see some comments here. Carol, going back to your question, I don't know why it is saying that, currently experiencing issues. I don't know why you're getting that message. I'm sorry. Another note, it does a nice job of creating infographics, which is helpful. Also a nice tool for fact checking the contents of an article back to the source. That's exactly right. You could use a notebook, for example, to upload all your research notes, interview transcripts, then upload the draft of your article, and you can ask it, hey, does show me evidence for this statement in source in my article.
And
any other questions?
Oh, I was going to say, just reiterate that one of the things that I like about Notebook LM and related to journalism is that I think part of it, I mean, now, yes, you do have the tools incorporated to go out on the web and be able to pull in sources like that. But I think that for people that might be more sensitive to using AI, or training language models with their information, what's nice about this is it does stay inside just Notebook LM and it doesn't feed their larger language model. And that's why a lot of universities think it's okay for students to use it, because it literally was designed for this purpose and to just stay on a topic or a collection.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm going to pop right over to Gemini directly in the interest of time. Gemini, as I said, Google's large language model. So in the Gemini app, what you put in there, if I'm adding my prompts, my responses with the basic free account, if I add documents for context, for example, so unlike, as Tara said, Pinpoint and Notebook, so this is content is used to train the Gemini model. So that's something to keep in mind. We have different features in Gemini, so I can just enter a regular prompt, but I can also use a deep research tool. So this will do a more in-depth research, and it will also propose me the research plan that I can edit before it conducts that research. I can create videos with a text prompt. I can create images with a text prompt. I haven't even tested this yet, the music prompt, it's so new. I can create a coded app or a web page or a game with a text prompt, or I can ask it to walk me through a learning process. I can also create gems. So up here you'll see, this is if I'm opening the menu here, collapsing and opening the menu up here on the right-hand side, left-hand side. But I've got the option of doing a regular chat or gems. Gems are really interesting, I think, from a journalist perspective, because these are prompts that you might want to use repeatedly for tasks that you do over and over. So for example, I've got a French translation gem where I ask it to translate text into a colloquial Quebec French. So I don't have to add those parameters. So if you're creating a gem, and we can use this example. So here's a gem that I made on Vermont trending stories. I'm popped into edit so you can see the prompt that I've given it, and you can see how detailed it is. And we can keep going past 2 p.m., by the way. I might have to move out of this room, though, so just a heads up. But let's look at sort of the level of detail I can go with this trend. So you're a senior digital news editor for a major Vermont-based news organization. Your goal is to identify high-impact local story ideas that bridge the gap between what people are searching for and high-quality local journalism. I've given it the task. So look at trending searches in Google Trends. Provide me with a working headline, an angle, why it matters to Vermonta, supporting data, links to Google Trends pages or related stories on the topic, and then a local source to contact. So with this gem, this is saved so that, I'm gonna go back here, so that anytime I open this gem, I don't have to give it those instructions again. I can just open it up and say, show or give me trending story ideas for Vermont today. And here it's given me a list based on what is identified as trending stories. So I'm not a Vermonter. I don't know how good these are. You know, depending on how local you're looking, depending on if publications in your area are blocking AI crawlers or not, you might get mixed results, but just an example of the type of thing you can do with a gem if you're looking at tasks that you would perform over and over with Gemini, but you don't want to repeat those instructions. And then I'll show you another thing that I do. This is an example of a deep research task. So in this case, kind of riffing off the NASA stuff, this is a deep research query. So I've given it detailed instructions to do research on the Apollo 11 space mission. Then it proposes me this research plan. Then it started the research. And it's given me this quite lengthy document. I can see a content list, so sort of a chapter, a table of contents here. I can export this to docs or copy, or I can create something out of it. So when we saw here, I asked it to create like a web page, and that's what it came up with. This is all coded, so you can download and embed this HTML code. So I've shown you GEMS, the deep research function. Here's an example of let me see if I can find this one. Here's an example of a news quiz that I did with a magazine here in Canada. So again, this is in French, but again, this is a downloadable HTML file that they could upload to their site based on their own content. Any questions? Any questions about Gemini? I'm just conscious of time and don't want to go over, but I want to address any remaining questions you might have about these tools. Yeah, so gems are found if we're looking in Gemini. Let me share my screen. If we're looking in Gemini, it's right here below new chat, scheduled actions, gem, and then create new gem down here. And I'm just gonna pause here and move out of this room if that's okay, and before we wrap up, Tara, just give me 1 minute.
I guess while she's moving rooms, I'll do my plug for our annual convention that's coming up March 13th and 14th in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where we do have a continuation of this Google training, a little bit more broken up. Not necessarily all these tools again, but certainly another example, and those will be live sessions and they'll be a little bit longer. So if anyone has any questions about that, I'll send a follow-up email to everyone as regarding the session and a way to request the recording as soon as I have that.
Hi. So sorry about that. These conference rooms are at a premium here. So it looks like we haven't lost everybody. I want to point out something else that I do in Gemini a lot is I ask Gemini to improve my prompts. So here, for example, I wanted to make an infographic about the Apollo 11 research, and I wanted to make an infographic based on the Apollo 11 space mission research that I had in my notebook. So one of my notebooks was about the space mission. So what I did was I asked it improve this prompt, create an infographic based on the notebook that shows the timeline of the Apollo 11 space mission. And then this is the improved prompt that it gave me. And you can see it's kind of done the work for me of getting really professional and identifying the constraints, using the language, and then from there, I copied that prompt and I attached a notebook. So when I write a prompt, I can use reference files from my hard drive or from Google Drive or an image or from a notebook. So I connected it to my Apollo 11 NASA notebook. And then I entered this prompt, and then I set my settings to Canvas because I want to create an infographic, a visualization with text, and this is what it gave me. The infographics, how do the infographics differ between Gemini and Notebook LM? I would say Gemini can do a better job at rendering text over top of, in my experience, I've seen fewer text errors when I make infographics in Gemini with Gemini Canvas. So try it in both if you're already using Notebook, I would say. But yeah, that's something you can keep in mind as well is Gemini for infographics. I want to wrap it up because I don't want to keep folks too long. But I'll just say that all of the content pieces, so the infographics, the auto overviews, the images that you create in Notebook or with Gemini are watermarked with an invisible watermark. using a technology called Synth ID, so that they are detectable as AI generated. So that if you do an image search in Google, Google will identify anything that's made with its technologies as AI generated. And Google also encourages users, publishers to identify content they create as AI generated. I am going to just open the floor if there's any final questions or comments based on these tools. And I will also leave you with a QR code that you can use to give us feedback. We'd really appreciate that. But any questions, comments from folks?
This is your chance to ask anything you might have wanted to know.
I've popped in, there's a link